Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to day 2 of the NLC 2023 Spring Split. I'm Middlecott, joined by Veteran, and in a few minutes' time, we are going to be... Are you all right, Veteran? Is everything okay?
I was trying to get rid of one screen, and I unfortunately got the other. I am perfectly fine, though. Very
Excellent.
high on adrenaline from the last game, but but otherwise fine. I'm excited for the next one as well, honestly.
Yes.
There are so many clashing stories today, to be honest.
Yeah, and so really, I think the first place to start with Domino and Vanir is, unfortunately, neither team able to grab a W yesterday, but I think that we've seen interesting things from teams on both these sides. You see they're falling down to Riddle and of course, Verdant. So you can hardly blame them, less favoured in those matchups, but taking the L still isn't going to feel good.
No. But we did get to see a lot of their identity. It's not like these guys went down without a fight, and because of this, we do have somewhat of an idea of how both these teams play. Even though they were both playing against, as we've now seen from Verdant, very good competition.
Yeah, I think if we are talking about the way that Domino approached things, I feel like a lot of the action, a lot of the, I guess, positive things from them was coming from that bot lane, right? It was to do with Larry and the way that Snarby were playing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they're a bot duo-centric team, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're a bot lane-centric team. Because what you have is you have Snarby going around the map, making a lot of plays, fixing his entire map state, but at bot lane, you have their AD carry Larry there. Every time his Vow Assault was up, they made a play on it with flowing, but you didn't really have Snarby being this bot lane dominant player with them, right? It wasn't about 3v3s on bot lane. Snarby would be doing something topside, doing something mid, and Larry would still be being played around by the rest of his team. So that was really interesting. On the other side, you got Ploxy here. Very interested to see how he plays today. You want to talk about junglers in the NLC, this is another one. This guy, he has a pathological need to contest every single neutral objective, but that's been very good for some junglers, right? Schemes, for example, is a jungler that immediately comes to mind when it comes to objective contests. That guy always woke up in the game by skirmishing around pretty much every neutral on the game. That's how we like to play it. Ploxy reminds me a lot of that. So interested to see, because what I end up with here is like a Ploxy versus Snarby game, right? Where Snarby's trying to control the map, Ploxy wants to get his neutrals to get out of his river, and Larry, maybe he wants to make that life even harder by going up against Crispr. Crispr kind of has to show, along with Touch, that he deserves to be here, because yesterday's game didn't go so well, and he has a lot to prove coming in, and he has a very aggressive lane opponent with which to prove that against. He's had some very good splits in the past, so got a lot of faith in him. But both these teams, they need to get that W, they need to prove their playstyle works, they need to prove that they are competitors in the NLC, but not with Heimerdinger. I'm not seeing that champ today again, am I? Baloo's ruined it. We can't.
Just completely spoiled the pick for everyone. I mean, I don't want to see a Heimerdinger, because a champion that can seemingly feel completely useless and then just one-shot a level 4 Sejuani is not something I want to see. And I think maybe Vanir taking some notes from that, as it is going to be the Ball Lady first pick locked in for themselves. I believe so far actually undefeated in the NLC this year.
I mean, and you want to talk about a neutral objective contesting champion. I mean, yeah, actually, Taxa, it has continued to make sure that that champ's undefeated. That champion does exactly what Ploxy likes. Ploxy likes to shadow his lanes, not really accelerate them, make sure they can get out. But if you're going to do an acceleration play against their lane, the Sedge is behind them, it's very easy for Sejuani to disrupt that. He likes to do neutrals. What do you love in a neutral contesting team? You love the ability to turn and engage, and Sejuani is the queen of turning and engaging. So good first pick from them. I expect that from Ploxy. Flowing, though, he's going to be on this Vi. He made plays with Larry a lot. That is a good champion for it, but also this makes it difficult for Vanir to go in towards something like a Yuumi, in towards something like a Zeri, two very strong champions that are up. So that gives Domino priority on those picks. They have priority on a lot of bot lane picks. We're talking about them as a bot lane team without even having to pick one by going for this Vi.
Yeah, and it is going to be paired up with that Syndra as well, so you've kind of got this two-person unit that can really burst people out, single target CC and damages. You were very excited about the Xayah there, but it is going to be the Akali and the Varus locked in for Vanir.
Yeah, I love it when teams respond to their opposing team's picks, which is why I very much loved that Natives draft, even if it ultimately didn't win, right? And the Vi is very good into an opening Sejuani. We saw that yesterday against Nord, for example. The Vi is able to take on any tank. When I see the Xayah in response to Syndra Vi, I'm thinking brilliant adaptation there. Already make yourself untargetable when Vi tries to ult you. You make yourself untargetable when Syndra tries to ult you. She has very good options. But ultimately, they're gone with the Varus. Solid pick. CRISPR played on it yesterday. He also wants to enable his Akali with more of a pick-based champion as well. I like it. The Renekton, a classic blind pick. Don't tell her less. Also decent if this Sejuani turns out to be a flex. And crucially, later on, can sit on top of his Syndra, sit on top of the AD carry that we don't quite see yet, right? And immediately stun this Akali if she comes in. The Zeri is being removed by Vanir. They couldn't pick it themselves because of the Vi, and they're making sure that Domino don't get every advantage. But let's face it, forcing a ban is already an advantage. So I do still like Domino's draft strategy here.
I agree with you. And I think the Zeri makes a lot of sense as well, because if I look at the sort of profile of when the champions that Domino have got are strong, I see a lot of stuff that is going to be very strong early mid game, but then maybe have some issues interacting as we get to the slightly later stages. And we know that the Zeri is an AD carry that operates as an exceptional late game hyper carry, so having that off the board obviously is going to make a lot of sense as well. The Ashe here taken off as well to deny a little bit of priority in the bot lane for Snarby and Larry too.
Yeah, I mean, that Ashe is very flexible right now. Very good into the low mobility Chrisberg that you have there. We talked about Larry playing very heavily with his Varus ult up yesterday. Varus is gone, Ashe is gone. These critical ultimates aren't going to be available there to try to make plays onto Chrisberg. And you're right, you know, like Vi, Renekton, very good mid-game skirmishers, but the Syndra really ultimately is their only late-game damage right now. Removing Zeri as a hyper carry is good. Karma's on the table now. So let's see what this last pick is, because there's a lot of combos possible here. Maybe mid hasn't been picked, and this Syndra goes bot lane with Larry, right? And that could be something where you can suddenly play off him. Maybe this Karma goes mid, and none of the bot lane's actually being shown yet. Who knows where this goes from this point? But Aatrox back in after all this time. All right, Renekton is a classic matchup into that Aatrox though, so I don't think Domino are too worried about this. But the fresh into a potential priority pick like the Karma, that could be really good. Ooh, and you also have this. So you have a front-to-back composition from Domino. What don't you want to see as a front-to-back composition? What you definitely don't want to see is a massive wall of crowd control moving straight at you, and that's what Renato immediately does. What else don't you want to see? You don't want to see something like Aatrox that is basically a juggernaut that forces you to have to go through him into them, right? That's what you don't want to see. So those picks are good to try to counter what Domino have done, but Domino round out with the Aphelios. So Aphelios Karma, very classic. This makes Akali's life difficult. This makes Aatrox's life difficult and Sejuani's life difficult if they try to dive. Varus is not a champion that does that much damage in on hit, and we've seen Poke Varus get criticized a lot for having a lack of damage as well. So I think this Aphelios could actually be very good as a bit of anti-dive, and then you just have Renekton play back and emphasize those aspects of the Aphelios, and it's difficult for Vanir's top side to find a way to make that work later on in the game. So they've shored up that late game thing that you were worried that they may not have with that Renekton pick, right? With the Aphelios. I think Domino have a very well-rounded composition.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Vanir force their way into it.
I think fundamentally the Domino comp operates at a lot of different rages and in a lot of different scenarios, which is obviously going to feel absolutely great for yourselves. Vanir, I'm worried, but I will say, if an Aatrox gets ahead, and if Akali gets ahead, these are champions that can very quickly just change the way that you have to interact with the game, because they can exert so much power and so much pressure, even on a couple of kills.
I mean, we need to see Larry do a good Remix impression, because Remix never left his Karma, never left his Seraphine. They were always grouped in that position. if Akali is able to isolate this Aphelios from the rest of his team, then suddenly your composition doesn't work quite as well anymore. If Akali Aatrox, Sejuani jump on your face there, you can actually trade a kill onto him. So, but on the other hand, if that never happens, I think the Civilians could be in a very good position to just counter their entire front-to-back kind of lineup. He has range, he has everything, like you were saying. He's a very good last pick by Domino. I favour Domino in this draft. I do. I'm very interested to see how Vanir tried to pull it off.
I think that's fair, and I think that you have given sort of strong and impactful tools to the people that we were talking about. It was about playing towards Larry, and it was about giving Snabby a champion that he can have a high impact on. Obviously, the Karma is a little bit different to something that can engage quite so freely, but with the mantra and the ability to empower all of your basic abilities, she does have a lot more versatility as a champion than I think she is often given credit for. As we are loading into game, we are on to the rift for Vanir versus Domino, who I promise you have a try tag, and that will be updated on the overlay in just a moment's time. But it doesn't matter for now. We are in game 2, and we heading straight into a pause.
We are, and you've caught me trying
I couldn't even get done with my intro, veteran, before we got to the pause.
Still good. This happened first game. We're getting the LEC treatment, all right? It's fine.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory, right? We do get to talk a bit more about like what that Karma could do, right? Because I actually think this ain't really so bad for Snabby. If he wants to go around the map, having a champion that guarantees you priority on bot lane is not a bad way to do it. How do we expect that level 1, level 2 to go, right? You have basically one ability on the Renata. If you hit it, maybe you can do something. If you don't hit it, well, this Karma's just shoving in the wave, right? So you have guaranteed wave control early. You have guaranteed shifts early from the Karma. And if they want to make a play on the Aphelios, diving an Aphelios, not a very easy thing. Maybe in the first 4 levels, you can try to do something, but I think Snabby's a bit smarter than that. But I do think this gives Snabby the freedom, crucially, to be around the map. So my question is, later on in the game, does Touch do something about that, right? Does Touch try to match him? Because if Touch figures out how to match Snabby before Flowing figures out how to match Ploxy, then Touch can change the game. Or Flowing changes it up from yesterday and starts matching Ploxy around the map as well, then you have a jungle support there. There are 2 potentially really strong jungle supports, but they have mismatched strengths and mismatched weaknesses right now in terms of their map play. Whichever one of these 2 teams figures it out first is the team that's going to get in control of the game.
And as it stands, both of those junglers are currently making their way towards the top side. Ploxy opting to skip his walls, go straight towards this blue buff, and Luca was able to place a ward on the Raptors of Flowing, so once he moves towards that camp, Vanir will have a timer on the enemy jungle, but you see on the minimap as Shaolin cheats his way out of mid lane, pops a ward down in the pixel brush as well, so both teams really trying to get a handle on where these junglers are in the early stages.
Yeah, I do love that ward as well, because even though Flowing has skipped that ward, you know for a fact that by not showing up on the Raptors, he's done free camp bot side. There's no reason for you to not have shown on that ward unless you've done that. You're not going to do 2 camp bot side, skip walls, and then skip straight to red. That's not going to happen. So they do have the info. He knows he has the timing here.
Foxy with a potential timing onto Fjompun. Flash forward for Lingui for the sweet spot. Flash back from the Renekton as here comes the Vault Breaker onto Ploxy. First blood for the Sejuani. And now Flowing in a really rough spot. Forced to blow the flash of his own, but it's not going to save his life as it's a double kill for the Vanir jungler.
Well, if Flowing was going to figure out this game, he left it a bit too late. Ploxy with a brilliant play to open the game. That's going to help him a lot when he definitely goes for that first Herald, because I don't think I've seen this guy try to skip a neutral in his life. And, that right there is my response. Whenever people ask, do your clear speeds really matter so much? Yes, seconds matter. Vi was 5 to 7 seconds away, but guess what? Has it ever taken more than 5 to 7 seconds to use all of your abilities? I don't think so. The play is already done. He's 1 auto attack away from death by the time Vi is there. And speaking of 1 away from death, ooh,
it's 4 minutes,
Snabby.
And Akama has just roamed mid lane and got a kill. We weren't joking about this guy. Snabby loves to get on map, and now he is trying to bully Ploxy in his own jungle.
I mean, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen, as both the Emperor and myself have said before every League of Legends game. Snabby got the priority on the first 3 waves, immediately shifted from mid to top and made the map his. Ploxy immediately found openings to allow the map to be more in his favor for those neutrals later on. The 2 big map players that we were expecting to come out this game have come out in the first 4 minutes, and both of them have made statements. That Kai is going to be feeling that for a while, and so too is that Renekton and Vi.
Yeah, and I kind of want to ask you, because it's a double kill onto a Sejuani, right? Sejuani, not a carry. How does this change the way that Ploxy is going to be able to play around his jungle now that he's sat on Lucidity boots at 5 minutes?
Yeah, Lucidity boots for 5 minutes, I think people would say that is definitely an advantage. What you generally want is to have HP valued over your CDR. But in this situation, he can have both HP and CDR from the Lucidity boots that are going straight for a Kindle Gem, and crucially have the move speed. The move speed allows him to be even more seconds on time on a lot of these plays, and now there are match plays he can make where he's going to be ahead of where he otherwise would be, and as we've seen, those seconds matter, this being one of them.
Yeah, Snarby... Well, I mean,
Not
apparently
today,
he's fine to attack the enemy jungle, but his own jungle is not a safe haven. Go figure. Vanir going to be starting up the Drake. Ploxy getting on those objectives like you were talking about.
Yep, immediately. His immediate play off of that topside play is to recall, grab these boots, and he knows he's ahead of the Vi, both from the death timings and from the boots. He had enough time to clear a camp before entering enemy jungle. He knew he had all that time in the world, and why enemy jungle on bot side? Is it because he wants to show Snarby something? No, mate. Snarby, he weren't even thinking about you. He was thinking, I secure this, force Vi out of bot side, and this Drake that is spawning is mine. And he secured it. First Drake secured for Vanir. This is what expected from Ploxy. Let's see how Domino respond.
I mean, you've got setup, right? And we've potentially got a fight in the bot lane as Larry is forced to flash away, getting a double root with the Gravitum. Chrisberg missing with the piercing arrow, though realistically that was more of a very deft dodge there from Larry. But, I mean, there are definitely tools, right, on Domino. The Ruthless Predator from the Renekton and the Scatter the Weak from Shaolin, Syndra in the mid lane. These are great tools for setting up ganks, and the Vi brings CC of her own. So there is an opportunity to make a play, and they are looking at Lingui, but he's going to go into the World Ender, maybe looking for a bit of a play onto the members of Domino, as there has been a double kill in the bottom lane for Chrisberg and Touch, as Vanir potentially thinking about getting some more kills on the top side. Luca roaming over level 6 on the Akali. Access to the perfect execution, but not too many items. Will decide to back away, but 7.5 minutes in Vanir. 5-1 in the kills, 2k up, and a dragon in their back pocket.
We were saying whichever team figures out this jungle support dynamic first is the team that will get the advantage, and Touch has figured it out. Chrisberg has decided to show his prowess on champions like the Varus. I always think about Caitlyn when I think of this guy. So these long-range champions... Oh! And Luca's joined the party.
Yeah!
Luca has
I mean, that
joined
really
the party.
sucks now for Flowing. He's in a pretty dire situation on the Vi.
No, he got matched on bot side, thrown out of there, tries to go top side, immediately has to match a play from his opponent, and then gets forced out of his jungle by the Akali. But very good assassin play right there from Luca. Ooh.
Jump and flashing flash from Lingui. It's another kill for Vanir. They are really starting to accelerate now. This game is not slowing down by any means as Shaolin gets a stun onto Touch. Moonlight Vigil opens up, and Touch is not going to be surviving. Shut down. Gold going to Snabby. Maybe not ideal gold distribution as Luca now looking for a couple more kills. Shaolin being focused, but the shield is going to keep him alive. Flowing is here as well. And there's so much CC onto the Vanir mid laner that Domino are able to take him out with ease.
Well, in Ploxy's mind, this is absolutely fantastic, because this means there's no one there to contest him on the Herald, which he is currently sat on top of and finished doing. So for Ploxy, that is not an advantage to anyone but him. But looking at that sequence of events, I mean, Luca, he had a lot of aggression on top side just then, but he used his ultimate when he went bot side there. Yes, there are a lot of low HP targets, but if he doesn't get the auto off and there's enough CC there to prevent him doing so, he never gets a kill there at all. He didn't have the ultimate to just slice through two of them. A lot of desperation plays there. Touch did the desperation flash to try to see if he could stay alive by getting a quick execute for his Varus. Luca went there to see if he could maybe get something out of all of that play, but he didn't have the R. A lot of little things there that prevented Vanir carrying on their streak of wins and finally taking an L, unless you're Ploxy, you know, in which case that itch has been scratched and that's all you really care about.
Yeah, like,
you know he's saving this.
Ploxy looks at the like Elder Drake for Nexus trade and goes, "Yeah, it's all right, you know. I mean, it's an objective." It's got a Herald. Might be thinking about killing Shaolin. Flash ultimate up for Ploxy. Ultimate's gonna go wide. Snubby is here to protect the Syndra, but she is still going to get stunned, still hit with a Shuriken, and still taken out Touch with that kill, and the flashback force from flowing under the tower, burning down a double for the Vanir support.
Well, Touch absolutely does not want this to be the story of Snabby on the map. He's played a very good game. The bot lane of Vanir has shown up, no matter what you want to say. And Luca, you know, he didn't want his story to end with that bot lane play either. He's back and hungry for more. And, you know, Ploxy, you know, for him, he's like, great, that means this next Drake is absolutely free. Brilliant. But this team, playing as a 5-man, shoring up their disadvantages, they are, I mean, honestly, this looks like very complete play from them. They are no longer the holes that I thought they had yesterday. They've been plugged very fast. I don't really see a huge weak link here so far on the side of Vanir, whereas Domino's, they're kind of scattered. They're still trying to get the game back in control. Even those brief wins they're getting are more Vanir's mistakes than Domino's successes, and it's not like Domino's are getting much on the map in return.
They are still happy enough to force onto Vanir. They have found Touch, still has the ultimate available. Salt and battery used, and that is a shutdown. That is a load of gold for Larry.
Wow.
Blowing is going to pay for it with his life, but look at Chrisberg. He is in an absolutely awful spot, or maybe not, as he gets the kill. Will finally drop a double for Larry, as Ploxy will leave the kill for Luca. He misses the 5-point strike, but he gets him in the end. That's all that matters, and that is a big fight for Vanir.
And right there to illustrate it, Flowing get one thing, and Vanir are like, great, we'll get 4 for that one. The cell went off here, and look at Chrisberg, played absolutely to his limits, gets 1 kill, spends the entire last 100 of his HP putting Larry down so low that Luca could afford to fluff up the 1 ability he had to land for it. And Ploxy, I have not seen a Sedge do that much damage in the wild. Are we sure that's a tank?
Doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it. Credit to Luca. That 5-point strike looked like it hit on my screen. So, do you know what? You're absolutely fine, mate. You're in a really good position. So's the rest of your team. And Oxy has been having such a great performance this game. 3-0 and 6. Got that Radiant Virtue completed. He's taken that early double kill, and he has used it to get more and more advantages. Herald into the mid, takes down a couple of plates, and takes down a little bit of HP.
Yep, immediately playing into bot side.
Oh, Larry's dead.
Similar to his... Oh, see you, Larry. I mean, we don't want that Aphelios to be isolated against assassins. That's what we were saying in the champ select. And
I agree.
He was there for like so little time. Our camera wasn't even able to get on him. Just gone.
Why is Flowing in blue topside jungle?
Well, because, the crucial question is, why is Flowing's opposing jungler not in blue topside jungle? And we both know why.
He's currently doing Drake. It doesn't matter to Lingua as he hits a double knock up with the sweet spots. Chrisberg with the arrow from downtown that will claim the kill, and the ultimate used by Touch will line up a couple more. Vanir find a 3-0 fight in the top lane. They're going to get the Drake as well. This is going from bad to worse for Domino.
I mean, actually being able to defend his topside jungle is just a stretch goal for my man on the pig here, right? Like, man on the polo, sorry. But Ploxy's living my jungler fantasy here, right? He's getting every single objective, and he doesn't actually have to lose anything for it. but really good of Vanir to understand they're in a position where they can play two sides of the map. Enemy were on resets. You do have numbers advantage no matter what side you are there. You force their resets off balance by getting so many kills. You do have numbers on two sides of the map at once. And if you have that, Ploxy's fine to do whatever he wants on bot there, which means getting the neutral. Ploxy played off of that Herald to get control bot side as well. You can make shallow plays top. It's good. It's good recognition from Vanir. It's the kind that you want to see for a team that doesn't just want to be a bottom feeder in the NLC, right? Similar to what we saw from Verdun. Obviously a different kind of play. Ooh, damage though. Not enough. Not enough.
A little bit. And I mean, I think it's good that Domino are trying to make plays with Larry because realistically, he is one of the few strong points for them at the moment. But with the state of the game, a strong point is not a particularly strong point when you look across at what Vanir have got in their inventories.
I'm so interested, not in this play, but in how you pronounce this top laner's name, by the way.
Oh, Lingui.
No, the other one,
Fjompen.
the guy who just died.
Well, I pronounce him dead at the moment because he is.
Regretting the Renekton choice here, I think.
It's not gone well. Been a bit of a rough game, honestly, from Domino, and some of the adaptations that I guess that we wanted to see from them, the integration, I guess, of Snubby more into that wider team play style has not really happened as much, and it feels like they've been a bit directionless, honestly.
I mean, a lot of that, like, we talked a lot about Ploxy, and deservedly so, but a lot of that is because Chrisberg and Touch, they were able to net 2v2 kills early on in the game. Touch was able to figure out when his opponents were weak and engage. Chrisberg is playing to his limits. Look, again. Chrisberg engaged.
Disgusting amounts of damage. Starby dies incredibly easily. Larry has the cleanse available, but you can't cleanse knock-ups, and Lingui is on a rampage under the tower. He didn't have a great day yesterday, but he is absolutely chilling as it stands 4-0-5. And I know we're a little bit early, 16.5 minutes in, but it feels like veteran. We are just waiting for Vanir to cross the T's, dot the I's, and finish up this game.
I mean, I feel like I'm watching any of the big three teams yesterday if it wasn't for the fact that this is 20 kills at 16 minutes and makes this, honestly, the biggest stomp I think we've seen so far. The game has been in Vanir's favor from basically the first clear. Ploxy's decision not to do the Krugs, to be a camp ahead of the Vi, the knowledge that Vi had committed to 3 camps on bot side, playing with those 10 seconds he had on the top side as he did, has snowballed into a monumental lead, the likes of which we actually haven't seen yet from any team. Ruddy weren't at this point at this stage, Riddle weren't at this point at this stage, Nord, who are a very experienced team, you have to hand them that, were not at this point at this stage.
Oh no. Oh, Flowey just wants a red buff. He's not gonna get it.
At this point, what can he do? You know, what can he do?
Who'd be a jungler? Who'd be a jungler?
Like, stay in base, stay on the tower. Like, there aren't options. Vanir have closed all of those options already. They have sold you down the river and are coming for the Nexus eventually when someone convinces Ploxy that it is in fact neutral and not a red objective.
Well, I mean, you joke a little bit as, well, Ploxy's just going to kill Shaolin here. There's absolutely nothing that the Syndra can do.
No, it's a playstyle that works. The map kind of that absolutely works.
And the map kind of isn't ready for Vanir to be this far ahead, right? Like, pushing into even inhib towers isn't particularly realistic right now. Baron still isn't going to be a thing for a minute and a half, and so Domino are left in this really, honestly, awful state where you got to keep playing it out, but you know that looming on the horizon, Vanir have just got this massive weapon that they're just waiting to pull out.
Oh, mother of God, the Sejuani has a 2.5k gold lead. Top lane has a 3.2k gold lead. Bot lane has a 2.8k gold lead on the AD carry and a 1.3k lead for their support. This is insane numbers we're seeing here, to the point where Akali's 1.5k gold lead in mid lane seems like he's letting the side down. That's the level that we're on here, you know? Like, this is an incredible
Well, maybe he's going to change that. Luca looking for kills. Flash is being used. Very, very necessary.
He heard me.
As Vanir
but the big thing
running
here
map,
is that
another Drake.
Off of this Drake, though, I want to see this Herald use bot lane. You have a really good setup here to ram it through that second tier tower, ram it into the inhibitor, and knock out an inhibitor at the exact point where you want to make a rotation towards this Baron. Instead, he's going to try to do it mid lane, but that doesn't really change the map state that Dominos need. Bot lane completely changes it. I even think there's an argument that he drops the Herald and then does the Drake instead. I'm going to be honest, there's an argument he doesn't do the Drake at all at that point. But you want that Herald drop bot, you want that inhibitor bot taken, and if you do that, the Baron at 20 minutes is completely yours. They were only able to get it a little bit on mid lane, and honestly, even if you take mid lane inhibitor, think about it, lads, in your solo queue games, are you ever really not pushing mid? It doesn't really change the map. So the opening for Baron here didn't really happen, but this is the kind of thing that if you're going to play like accelerating junglers like Lee Sin, Nunu, you really have to think about a lot. Ploxy plays more bridge kind of junglers like Wukong, like the Viego, like the Sejuani, so he doesn't think about these too much as well. This is something that the team could go back in VOD review and be like, I know we absolutely curb stomped these guys, but maybe we could have curb stomped them even harder like this. You know, like really leave some, you know, like this. There are still areas you could improve.
Well, of course, because the worst games to lose, right, are the games where you're winning. And then you make a couple of silly mistakes, or you don't necessarily accelerate the game in the way that you needed to in order to pull out the victory. This is good, though. 21-minute Baron, and I think Domino rightly recognizing that there is nothing that they can do to stop Vanir from taking this.
No, absolutely nothing. I mean, they get bounty gold on the bot tower, there's that, that's nice, but even if they were able to take an inhibitor bot, as I said in the previous game, don't care about that. Now I just run it up with my Baron buffed minions, so there's just no real options. Like, I was hoping you weren't fishing there for me to say yes and they could still make that mistake against... They can't. They can't. There's no way. I don't see a single way in which Domino's actually has the damage to do anything to them. Maybe Akali goes and 1v5s, everyone stays on the map, and Touch goes and tries to 1v5, and then maybe they can't deal with the Aatrox Sejuani balance. But I doubt it.
And that's an objective bounty there, veteran.
Ah!
And lasting a little bit longer than... Yeah, lasting a little bit longer than maybe you'd expect. He is going to die. Eventually.
Honestly, I like
with
these
the kill.
kinds of games. I like these kinds of games in terms of, like, I can see a lot of ways that Vanir could be even more efficient here, like with that Herald thing. And I like thinking about that. I think it's good to have those kinds of games where you remind yourself that even when you are over a kill a minute, that there's still room for improvement, right? That's the kind of level that we're playing on here. And I think it's good for Vanir to be able to acknowledge that. And you know what? Domino's have a lot to talk about in the first 5 minutes of their VOD review. The rest of it's a bit of a, yeah, well, I mean, if we ever are in this point, we are probably already messed up. But they do have some stuff to learn from as well here. And you know what? Hats off to Laurie and Snarby for still being able to have the impact that they did. Sad game for Flowing, but it's basically nigh impossible for them to play after the openers.
Yeah, sometimes the early game just puts you in a rough spot and you're not really able to recover as Vanir are charging forward. That was a great ultimate from Larry, but it simply doesn't do enough damage. 3 people are dead, 4 people are dead. Shaolin showing down against 5 members of Vanir, and he doesn't win that. A clean ace in the base, and Vanir are going to claim their first win of spring.
I'm kind of waiting to see if Ploxy continues or if he recalls for the Drake that's spawning soon.
Wait, guys, don't end. Drake's spawning in 40 seconds. What are we doing?
Okay, guys, reset for Drake. No, he's just gonna end it. He's gonna... Oh, he was thinking about it. He walked away there. He was thinking about it.
But in the end,
Vanir.
very, very clean, very, very dominant. 24 minutes, pretty rapid as well, veteran.
Yeah, I mean, but 2 games and 2 potential competitors, right? Vanir are able to play like that. Ploxy is able to play like that. Touch and Chrisberg are able to be on this kind of a form, and we have another team in the rat race for the EU Masters spot. And I don't even have to exaggerate there. You saw the same game that I did. Very dominant performance, the most dominant performance that we have seen so far, despite any slight errors, right? They can very easily tune up there and start thinking about how do we take on the Nords, the Riddles, and the Ruddies of the world.
Yeah, and I think it was so great to see that a lot of the leads that were coming through from Vanir were them working in tandem with each other. That was something that maybe we could have criticized them for yesterday, but it felt like wherever Ploxy was going, the people that he was like linking up with, they were completely on the same page and they were committing to these plays very, very strongly and very, very coherently together.
Oh yeah, and you know what this sets up for, right? What is the first matchup that these guys have to do in week 2? It's Vanir versus Verdant, right? 2 teams that have shown huge strengths that they might want more than just to be competing for mid and bottom tier here, going immediately against each other, and let's see which one of them is able to hold up against the next clear mid-tier of talent that we're seeing here and start to distance themselves from that.
And then, of course, on the other side, Domino. I think a game to forget, veteran.
Yeah.
I think we alluded to it a bit on cast. Sometimes the early game just puts you in a spot where recovering is just a bit too difficult sometimes, and I feel like that's the situation that we saw here.
Yeah, I mean, this is just going to come down to fundamentals for them, right? How are we expecting to execute our early game plan? How do we do that? And let's talk about this. You're going to look at this VOD not as a VOD, but in terms of conversations about fundamentals. Get those solid and then take the next step.
Indeed, as I believe we have now got an interview with Flash, the coach for the victorious Vanir. And Flash, you spoke to our colleagues yesterday, and it wasn't a great day for you guys with the loss. I'm assuming you're feeling much better today.
Yeah, for sure. I think our draft plan went as planned, so we are really, really happy with the win.
And obviously, it was
I'd be happy with that win as well, mate.
Performance. It was very, very good. And it was a very, very quick game. It felt very, very decisive. And I think a key player that myself and Veteran were pointing out was Ploxy, and the impact that he's had in this game. I kind of want to just get your opinion on what he's bringing as a player to this Vanir lineup.
He's a great leader in game, calling basically everything we would like to do as a team. So I think everyone envy him and follow him. And what is most important is that everyone puts trust in Ploxy. So that's why we can pull out a decent performance.
He does seem to have a very distinct play style. Reminds me a lot of schemes in terms of going very heavily for these neutral objectives and try to explode the game open that way. We saw a lot of times in this game where he would be doing that and you would make 2 plays on the map at the same time. When it came to the comms there, was this a plan like I can do this and you guys can do this top side, or we can make plays on 2 sides? Or was this just you guys were so far ahead, everyone could do their own thing, and you kind of broke that kind of leadership formation at that point? Like, what was happening? Did you remain tight as a unit, tight plans, or were you just being reactive to your advantages later on?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, we were ahead, so it was easier to take every objective on the map. However, when we spotted the enemy, or we were pretty sure where the enemy are, or that they cannot contest that, then we were just going for the 2 plays at once. And we have a specific rule that we don't want to do that when we are in an even game. So I think that was it.
Okay, and I've got some good news for you, Flash. We have decided on our MVP for today's matchup, and it is going to be going to Ploxy. I don't think anyone watching is going to be surprised after that strong performance. And you mentioned a little bit about the draft. There are a couple of champions that I wasn't necessarily expecting to see today. The Aatrox was one of them, but I want to pick your brains a bit more about this Renata. What was the decision like when you choose to lock her in?
No, they have Vi, they have Renekton, pretty short-range champions. They want to go into us, and since we didn't have anyone that good to appeal for Varus, I think Renata was the pick over here.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, Flash. I just want to ask how you are feeling going into next week. Your first matchup is going to be up against Verdant, who have been another team that has gone 1-2. How do you fancy your chances against them?
I mean, I lost to Klai in Ultraliga finals 2 years ago, so not gonna lose this time. So we are expecting the win.
Excellent. Well, Flash, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. Congratulations on the win for Vanir today, and we will see you later.
Yeah, see ya. Bye-bye.
Right, what a lovely guy. And now we are going to be joined by Pride from Domino. Mate, today, sometimes it just doesn't work out, right?
Sometimes it goes very horrible, I would say. And today is that day. That's fine.
Yeah, so I kind of want to get your thoughts coming into this matchup. What was it about Vanir that you were sort of looking out for most to sort of neutralize, and where do you think this game really went away from you guys?
Well, I think the game went away from us. Or first, I can answer the first question. I think we were watching Ploxy the most. For me, he's very well known in the Norwegian scene as a good jungler, and it's I faced him back-to-back in finals on the teams, so we've been keeping a close eye on him. But sadly, that wasn't enough today. For where it went wrong, I think maybe my players are a bit... well, it's nerves, so they're overreaching for stuff, maybe. Over chasing, or maybe looking for picks where they should not look for picks, and gets caught up by that. Yeah.
How do you feel you should approach this kind of a loss from a coach perspective? Is this even a game worth VOD reviewing? Is this something you do in more conversations? Is this something you just tuck away and forget? Like, what do you think you do here?
I don't think there's much to VOD review here. Everything went south. So I think we kind of just have to talk. Yeah, we just have to talk and like figure out maybe if there's some trust issues, or if there's some emotions. Just gotta get them out. It's the first week. It's okay that we have such a horrible start. Yesterday wasn't so bad. We actually were able to fight a lot this game. Not so much. Maybe we can bounce back, and that's the goal, of course. To just bounce back and start winning. That's the end goal.
Well, good luck on that.
I think that's a very, very good goal. Is a tough week for you guys next week, Nord and Ruddy. So how do you feel going up against these guys, and what are we going to be trying to learn and take from this week one?
This week, I would say just the experience and feeling. We have a lot of rookie players, Flowing, Larry, Shaolin, and Snubby. They haven't played First Division NLC before. Flaxus has been here and there in bigger seeds. So just getting in the experience for this week. And next week, Nor and Ruddy they're looking really tough. But that just means that they have everything to lose and we don't. So, and I have a pretty good history about being an underdog. So I think it's gonna... I just hope we can maybe put up a good performance and deserve the win, I would say. Work for it.
Fair enough. Definitely makes a lot of sense from yourself there. Well, I'm not going to keep you too long, mate. It's been really, really nice to talk to you, and I hope that next time we have a chat, it's in a bit more pleasant circumstances, okay?
Then this guy smiles, maybe.
Yeah. When it's the winner's interview, we're going to get that guy and he's going to be smiling, okay?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much for chatting. Oh, he's gone. Right. Oh, what? Veteran, I like that. I like that from Pride, honestly.
Yeah.
It's rough seeing your team lose like that,
Yes.
especially when, like you mentioned, a load of rookies, a load of people that haven't played at this level before. But I'm glad we've still got that sort of positive mindset coming forward, even though the fixtures next week are pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect to immediately be stomping from day one with a team like this. I agree with the approach that he's going to take, right? This is definitely something you have to deal with more in terms of conversations rather than in terms of, let's break down 20 minutes of us getting completely stomped. You know, like this, it's just not worth it at that point. And I'm glad he's remaining positive. If that guy ever stops being positive, that's when things start going really, really bad for the team. So it's on him to, you know, bring in the experience, bring in the leadership there and be like, guys, don't worry. I've also sucked in the past, but I've also done good things. So we can get from A to B, and this is our roadmap to do so. This is how we're going to do it, you know, lead them in. It's a team that has potential.
I believe, Veteran. I really do. But we are going to be having to go to a short break now. Coming up in a few minutes' time, potentially another Slaughter, although I'm sure Unique will want to change that story as they are facing up against Nord. This should be an entertaining one. Don't go anywhere.